Welcome, everybody, back to Massachusetts and Maple Hill. It's playoff time. MVP Open at Maple Hill. Steve Dodge, the mastermind here at Maple Hill, joining us now. Steve, how's it going? How you feeling? Show's about to start.
Things are going very well. There's a lot going on. I walk around the farm right now, and I am blown away by the amount of activity, because we started last Friday getting ready while you guys were up in GMC. And then Saturday, Sunday, we got the course pretty much ready. And then everybody else showed up, and there's like a whole nother level going on. I said last year that this is what I expected. This is so much more. This is crazy how many people are here, and we haven't started yet.
Well, talk to me about this. It's not like the tournament was planned last week. I'm guaranteeing you it started pretty much right after last year's tournament.
That is absolutely. We actually had to take 2 weeks off, and then we all get back together and we process.
Talk about that.
So, we all come to my house and have a nice dinner, and then it tends to get very loud in the living room, and we have to remind people we're all just sitting right here. But anyway, and we have a conversation about what we can do better. Yesterday, we started our 2025 ideas document, and everybody can just throw ideas in there, and then 2 weeks after this event, we'll process that document and do it all over again. But I know all the vendors are going to be here. I know all the players are going to be here. I know all the staff is going to be here. But then when you get everybody here, it's like, there's a lot of people here, and the 1,500 spectators are not here yet, and it's just big. It's really, really big.
At the end of last year's event, what were the big improvements that people were throwing into that document for this year?
So I think the biggest one is that we needed to handle vendors better. And I think the biggest improvement for 2025 is to be able to handle vendors better. So we did it. We made big strides, and we need to make big strides again. That's just, I guess maybe I shouldn't say that live on air, but that's what I just said. So there it is. But the other things were, we wanted to get bigger bleachers on hole 18. We wanted a better deck on the sap house. We wanted to put spectators on the road on hole 7 instead of the players. And because last year we had the spectators walking through the woods and the pros on the road, and this year we flipped them, and that is huge. We wanted to, we talked to Calvin Heimberg after the event last year, and he said, you can have alternate pins, but 30 feet's not enough. And so he said, I want the short pin on hole 1 to be used. And we went, oh. And that's why we have the short pin on hole 1 the first 2 days as a par 3, which allowed us to build the par 5 on hole 9. And so the par is the same Thursday through Sunday, and we were able to make that happen, have alternate pins, but have them significantly different. And Maple Hill is sort of becoming 1.1 courses so far.
Before we dive deeper into the course changes for this year, there's one last infrastructural thing that I wanted to ask about, because I'm fascinated by it. Parking here is such, I don't even know what to call it. It's shocking that you fit so many cars here, but how do you continue to scale that year after year? What's the parking plan this year?
So we don't scale it. That's the idea. We actually have the exact same number of parking tickets sold, and we expanded the parking spaces. So when it rains, we should be able to manage the mud, because we're not going to use all those spaces. That's what we did. Next year, when these spaces calm down a little bit and the earth under them is not as soft, and if it rains we'll be okay, then we can get more cars on again and continue to grow. But what we did this year is we partnered with Walmart, and we're going to park 300 to 400 cars in their lot off-site. We've got 7 shuttle vans that'll be bringing people back and forth. And actually, we're looking to start a partnership with Enterprise, because working with them is fantastic. And we have them coming to the event. We're going to give them the MVP VIP treatment, and hopefully next year we'll have Enterprise as one of our primary partners. So parking, as we grow and get more and more people, we have to find other ways of parking. And actually, I'll go ahead and just finish that thought. We have the staff in a different lot. We have the player off-site, and we have the players in a different lot off-site. So we are expanding in a lot of different ways. The town of Leicester is actually helping us do that stuff too.
Well, now, Steve, and thank you so much for that. That's always just fascinating to me, especially because this is a residential property. It's not necessarily expansive land just for disc golf. But talk about the course. Multiple changes, multiple big changes happening this year because it sounds like you've listened to some feedback. Let's start on one. Let's start with the Chipmunk Gate. Talk to us about that. Tell us the story.
So the name hasn't been revealed yet for the Triple Mando. But I think Brian just let the cat out of the bag, or the chipmunk out. It's okay, Brian. I'm going to announce it in 40 minutes anyway. So it goes live at, I think, 1:30 or something like that. So we will be announcing Chipmunk Gate in about a half hour. And we'll be doing a ribbon cutting. We'll have some special guests. We'll have people there that were building it. But there were three primary goals there. Is that what you want to know, why we built Chipmunk Gate?
Yeah, talk about the thought behind it.
So the Triple Mando, which will be known as Chipmunk Gate, the woods on the sides, when we first built that hole, were very thick. And if you went off right or you went off left, there was no chance to punch through. But disc golfers being disc golfers, over the last 15 years, every once in a while somebody punches through, and over time the woods get thinner and the shots get easier to make. So we wanted to bring the hole back to its original design where now you literally have to go through the intended opening. And so that's what the Triple Mando is doing. The second advantage of the Triple Mando, in my opinion, is we can put spectators on the sides. When there wasn't a Triple Mando, people could throw through there, and then you can't put spectators there. So we allow for like a 30-foot buffer, and then we put spectators, and we cleaned out a bunch of the branches, so it's actually a really nice viewing area. You can see all the way up to the women's tee, even the bleachers for the men's tee. The third thing is, I've seen Triple Mandos in disc golf at other events, and I don't think they're as good as they can be. Like, I love the fort at USDGC, for example. I think they did a great job. And I want to show people, if you're going to do a Triple Mando, make sure it's wide on the edges, make sure it's wide on the top. People can tell very easily if you made it. And it's a nice, solid structure that goes with the aesthetic of the property. So we fashioned that after a New England covered bridge. Hopefully people see it. It's only 4 feet deep, so it's kind of hard to see it, but it's there. But those were our three goals with Chipmunk Gate.
Thank you for that, Steve. Moving on to 7. Brand new hole for 7 for the MPO division. You cut a brand new fairway, essentially. Can you talk to us about the shot and the thought behind that one?
I did that all by myself. I'm joking. Gage Benson designed.
Bare hands.
Gage Benson designed the hole, cut the hole actually all by himself, and for diamond and gold, because they are in fact different holes. And the idea behind the gold is it's going to be easy to get into the little bowl in front of the pin, which is going to be at about a 50 to 70 foot putt, but depending where you are. And it's going to take a really good shot to scoot up that hill and give yourself a circle 1 putt. I told Gage it needs to be as hard as the old hole 7, and spectators need to walk on the road. Those are your parameters.
Got to move to the last one, hole 9. Got a lot of players saying it feels like a par 6. What are your thoughts on this hole in general, and what were you trying to accomplish with it?
I've played it twice personally. If it's a par 6, I got a par and a bogey, so I like that change to a par 6. Again, that was 100% Gage. I will go ahead and say, Steve Brinster gave me the idea 10, 12 years ago, and I was like, you are insane. But then disc golfers get better, technology gets better, and okay, that's not insane anymore. I believe that the par 5 will be birdied more than the par 4. It just seems like it will. I'll take that bet. And we have the eagle line set at 1/2. It's designed to not, it's not an eagle par 5, it's a par 5.
Well, Steve, before I let you go, you got a few other things clearly to get to. What are you looking forward to when the show starts?
Well, I want to first of all say I love MVP, and I love the fact that those guys are here. And whenever it feels like summer camp when they come here, and then I get to see the OTB guys, and the California OTB guys I only get to see once a year. So this is really important to see them and have that summer camp experience. I already mentioned we have a Walmart partnership that we're starting. I have to go ahead and give them a call out because you said, what am I looking forward to most? It's the ice cream social. and Walmart is sponsoring the ice cream social. So they're gonna set us up with all of the stuff. We're just gonna drive up there, they drop it in the trunk, and we just come on back, and they're gonna save me a lot of time. They're gonna pay for the whole thing, so save me a lot of money, and we just write the word Walmart on it, and everybody wins.
Steve, thank you so much for your time. Good luck with everything. We'll see you out there this week.
Thank you, Brian.
And we'll be right back in just a few. All right, joining us now, the defending champion, Matty Orum. Matt, bring us back to last year. I think you had a lot of people right in the palm of your hands when you tapped in that final putt. How are you feeling coming back here?
Feels good. Always feels good when it gets near the end of the season. And then, coming to Vermont here is always like a refreshment of the love of disc golf and just kind of seeing where it takes us. And because they're just awesome places up here, awesome people, awesome environments we play at. And it's always refreshing to come up here. And this is like my first week of fall ever. We came here 2 years ago, about the same time, maybe like a week earlier, but it was rained the whole time, so it wasn't really the full experience. So this year's kind of my first autumn. It's pretty cool.
Reflect on that last round. Everybody was just glued to their phones watching the live broadcast. I was following cards that day that were watching the live broadcast as they were playing. Walk us through what you were feeling in that final round.
It was my last day of tour, I remember, so that was super happy because I was going home. It was a long one there too. I had 3.5 months of not coming home. Packed up, told somebody I remember for sure. I said, whatever happens today, I'm tapping out and going home. And that didn't happen. But I told Trevin that we just played a practice round, and I was telling him when we were about hole 8 to 9 to 10, there was probably only 20 people following us because it was just we weren't really starting off that hot or whatever. And it was just kind of calm and peaceful. And then when we made the turn to go over the pond, that's when all the madness started. Because I think I got those 4 in a row, and it just kind of, I guess the leader card wasn't doing that hot. And it just, but like I said, I never knew that none of this was going on because our cell phone wasn't working, so we couldn't ever update scores. So the whole time I never knew I was winning. I never knew I was going to win until they actually finished, because I still didn't believe it.
It was a pretty emotional finish, and I know you shouted out a bunch of people at the end when I was interviewing you, and I know you shouted out your dad, Jim Orum, and I had a question for you. Do you feel, at this point in your career, maybe a responsibility to carry on your family's name in this sport?
A little bit, because I would say that everybody knows my dad a lot down south, but the COVID boom kind of took separated the old schoolers from the new school. So the old school kind of really started kind of getting fading away a little bit. You see the old timers every now and then. You're so happy to see them, but there's so much more population on the courses, so much more going on. They don't get on Facebook that well. I don't think most of those guys. So you don't when they pop up, it's cool, but just have that the old school perspective on everything, and I think it's part of the reason I like keeping the Orum name going, and just he's the reason I am who I am, how I got to meet everybody, be around everybody, get comfortable with the disc golf thing and everything. So.
And Matt, speaking of old school, this maybe is not old school to some, but I'm looking at your old PDGA statistics from 2006, 7, 8, and you were still all over the place, playing majors and national tour events all over the place. How different is your life now than when it was when you were touring back then?
Definitely, it's a lot better, because back then it was a lot more struggling. Me and Barsby used to play week to week, so we used to always play to try to keep on tour. That was the goal. It wasn't to go touring. It was just to play good enough to stay on tour. Now you kind of get what you see ahead of time more, so you kind of have more opportunities beforehand instead of just kind of, surviving off, 100 disc a year, trying to make it, signing up on time, it was a lot back then. So I'd say it's definitely a lot easier now these days, for sure.
Another question for you. I mean, you've spanned multiple generations of touring players, and you're still playing at a high level. You're 1042 rated still. But back then, there wasn't as much fandom in the sport of disc golf when you were first starting to tour. And now there's thousands of people that show up to these tournaments to see you play. Was there ever a weird period when you were starting to accept that you had all these fans and people all over the country that wanted to come watch you? Was that ever hard to grasp?
My roommate John Fox and me always used to know I used to be a terrible crowd player, but I always wondered why. But it was always because the tournament people that was in the tournament were the fans. It wasn't like you had random spectators who I don't know most of them these days, but like you knew everybody in the crowd. And usually it was for Worlds or an important A tier that back then, like I said, you were trying to survive off that A tier. So it was like, I need this to keep my life going, and now I look on the sidelines and I don't see really nobody. Like I know, so that's like a freedom of, I don't know. It's like knowing that I knew everybody, my family, my competitors, if you make this when you're a legend back then, now it's like, I kind of look over and I'm just, because they're all fans, they're not like the tournament people I've been surviving the whole time with out here on tour, seeing which one of us was going to make it, watching each other do it, now it's the real fans out there,
Do you enjoy playing for the real fans now, like you were saying?
There's nothing like it. Just enjoyment, the atmosphere. That's what makes the shot so enjoyable and rewarding and all that, just atmosphere. And just, I'm a football. I love watching all the sports. So having that part of the environment is just, that's what's up on.
I had a question for you that I didn't ask you last year. You hit a monster putt from Circle 2 on 17, and you yelled Dimebag Darrell as the putt was going in the basket. What is the significance of Dimebag Darrell and Pantera to you?
Oh, man, it's part of the reason I kind of that's probably was I probably won more songs to Pantera than any tournaments, I guess you would say, too. Plus, I just really like saying Dimebag. I always said somewhere on a podcast, they're like, why'd you say Dimebag Darrell? And I was going to yell Tom Brady, but I thought it sounded kind of cocky in my head before saying it because I didn't know where I was at or nothing. It was just hype because I always like to say my Tom Brady spiral. So I was just like, I knew I hit it out the hand. So I wanted to yell that, but I was like, no, don't do it. So it just instinctually came out of me for some reason. So.
Thank you for that. Let's zoom into this week.
Right.
Multiple changes on this course, hole 1, hole 7, hole 9. You said you loved the change on hole 9. Let's start there. Talk about the different changes.
Hole 1's neat. I think being the first 2 rounds, people might play it a little safe. 7, I'm just going to plead the 5th on 7. I still like it, but I really loved original 7 so much that it's hard to. I didn't like to see the change as much, but I could see it with the crowd because I landed there last year on hole 7, and it kind of looked like a Grateful Dead fest going on over there a little bit. There's just people laying on towels and stuff and all that over there not moving, so I can understand why now. And then 9's amazing. I love that change. And I think that's
What about it? What about 9 that you like?
I just love the features of the shot. There's such a 3 dimensions of shots there, like the tee shot, tunnel shot over the hill with all the erosion and the roots kind of thing. Shot over the thing is kind of neat. It's kind of like a little 56-degree wedge, or you can kind of get crafty with it, like a little Bubba Watson-y with it, trying to go gnarly with it. And then I just played it for the first time today over the shot over the water on the 3rd shot now is awesome. So love the hole. It's got 3 whole dimensions to it, so that's a hell of a par 5. So,
Matt, you told me that knee injury that you just had back in Europe that you're still recovering from was one of your first legitimate disc golf injuries that you've ever had. How are you feeling in regards to the knee, and what % are you back this week?
I'd say I'm 95% back. It was still a little nagging after I took 3 weeks off. I probably put on 10 pounds to sit there doing nothing, I ain't gonna lie. So coming back, I was a little like, oh man, I need to kind of get back in this shape a little bit, honestly. And then hurt a little bit, but then I soaked it in the water, did the cold thing up there, which I hate cold. So cold dipped it for about 3 or 4 days in a row in Vermont, and it's been feeling really good since then, honestly.
Matt, thank you so much for your time, my friend. We'll see you out there. Good luck.
Brian. Boom.
We'll be back soon. All right, welcome back. And welcoming in the defending champion, Hailey King. Hailey, you came out here, put on a great performance, and you won this tournament. You got to jump in the pond afterwards. Talk about your experience playing last year and how it feels coming back this year.
Last year, it was pretty simple. My host was caddying for me, so it was really cool to just hang out with them all week. It was just really chill vibes, and then coming back again, it's the same thing. I have the same host, and it's just awesome just being able to stay with them, and yeah.
I remember last year you looked really chill out there on the course last year, and you were telling me that you were taking a very specific game plan. You were laying up a lot of putts. I remember looking and seeing 0% circle 2, and then you told me it's because you laid up a bunch of circle 2 putts. Is that a similar strategy this year? Any more aggression?
Yeah, I'll probably be playing the same game. It worked out last year, and with what happened last weekend at GMC, I'm definitely going to be not pushing too hard this week.
And forgive me for not knowing what you're talking about. What did happen at GMC, and can you elaborate on that?
There was just a potential car accident that we avoided that ended in some pretty bad whiplash. So, yeah, I'm glad we avoided that, but it still felt like we were in a car accident, and kind of hurts to lift my arm, but it's getting better day by day.
Oh, man, I'm so sorry to hear that. What percentage are you, okay? Is there any chance of dropping out of the tournament? Or
I definitely won't be dropping out, but I'm happy to be playing this course because I get to stick to pretty safe gameplay and not push things too hard. So,
do you think about scores out here, like, oh, I need to shoot a 2, I need to shoot a 3? Is there any number, standard that you set for yourself out here?
Not really, because I think with the weather out here and then this course is just day by day, everything could be different. So I just want to make sure if I'm happy that day, I think I'll be doing pretty well.
So I had noticed that you're actually at a career high rating right now that you'd never been at before. Talk about, first off, how your game is feeling overall, but then also, do you ever set ratings goals for yourself? Have you ever as a touring professional?
I've never set rating goals. I think ratings can be fluky sometimes, and being an FPO or being in any female division, it's pretty fluky as is, so I don't really pay attention to that much. I think it would be cool to hit 1,000 because that is still a big mark, I don't know, whatever, but this year it's been pretty slow year because I've been hurt pretty much all year from the beginning to now, and it's just, if I was able to take a few months off, I would have done that, and I think I would have been fine, but unfortunately that wasn't a thing, so I'm happy to be playing as well as I am this year, given all the circumstances.
Talk about the prolonged injuries. That's got to take a mental toll on an athlete, not being fresh whenever you want to be fresh. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, going into the first event, I was at my best self that I've ever been at, weighed the most I've ever weighed, and just physically the most strong I've ever been. And then literally the first event of the year, I tweaked my knee, and you can't really work out and do things that you do on the daily when you tweak your knee, and then ended up hurting it even more throughout the next event, and then having to drop out of that. So just going through all that, it was the first time that it's been a very long-term thing, my entire season basically. So it's been very hard to play and just stay confident, but with the people surrounding me, they've been keeping me pretty on focus, I guess. I don't know, and just keeping my head up and keeping me going.
Obviously, I haven't taken a radar gun to watch you throw, but it seems like the lines you're choosing are different. The disc is coming out slower, but not forcibly slower. Is that a conscious decision based on the knee, or are you having to change the lines that you're throwing?
Yeah, I'm definitely having to change the lines, and I can even see it in my distance. I'm still throwing far, but it's I'm not throwing like really powerful distance. I'm just like throwing very smooth because I have to do things smoothly. I can't like put too much effort into it.
So then with that, I want to talk about practice. What do practice rounds look like for you? Are you going out to the field at all? Do you get to work through things? Dealing with these types of things?
I haven't been able to do too much off-course practice because even getting through one round, things start to get pretty inflamed, and if it's not taken care of right then and there, then it gets pretty bad for the whole weekend. So I've basically just been sticking to on the disc golf course practice and honestly limiting a lot of my shots on the course. So maybe 1 or 2 shots per like shot or whatever throughout the hole, and that's really it.
I've noticed you've transitioned from mainly flex to mainly hyzer flip. Do you enjoy throwing the hyzer flip style? Are you learning new shots, like still transitioning to that?
I'd say I am definitely having fun with it. Learning for sure because this can be very finicky. But I think it's just fun. It's another type of game that like I used to focus on a little bit back in the day, and then like I kind of just dropped that, and now I'm back into it. So it's kind of fun to just like change up the throwing style.
So what is kind of your bread and butter now with the backhand? What shot feels like you could put a blindfold on and throw it?
If I honestly just like a straight or like, I don't know, any shot. Honestly, if I have my T-bird 3, I just feel like really confident with it because just the hyzer release angle feels really comfortable.
Well, I want to note Kamari has been on the bag for you all season long. With a caddy and in Kamari, what kind of relationship is that? Are you getting advice from Kamari? Are you asking for advice? What does that relationship look like?
I mean, she's now caddied for me for all my practice rounds. Even when we're home, if she doesn't want to play, she's gonna play. Like she's gonna carry my bag. So she really knows my bag really well, and it's basically she just makes sure I'm confident. And then if I have any questions, she's just like, I mean, you know the answer, but I'll give you a little bit of like a nudge in the right direction, and then she just kind of like allows me to focus and just be confident.
Is there ever a time, and I like to ask caddies this, is there ever a time when you feel like she'll kind of figuratively slap you on the wrist and say, no, don't do that?
She does that a lot, especially because sometimes I just want to fully send it, and she's just like, now is not the time. Okay, you can do it later, not now.
Talk about hole number 9 out here. There's a change on 9. Big, long placement over the water. Scoring-wise for you, can you still keep that conservative game plan?
Yeah, I think that one's going to be a lot easier keeping the conservative game plan because I feel like with where the tee shots landed in all years previously, you're still going to have to lay up another time before you go over the water. You can get super aggressive, but I don't feel like doing that because you're on a downslope already, and I'm not trying to roll down that hill.
Do you think anybody's going to 3 it? Do you think any tee shots are going to get lucky over the hill? And
I mean, I think there are definitely players that are capable of doing it for sure. It's just like, is the risk worth it? I don't know. I think players can definitely do it. I know I probably won't.
See some 4s from Hailey King. Hailey, thank you so much for your time. We'll see you out there. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
We'll be right back in just a few. All right, welcome back and welcoming in the champion last week, Gannon Buhr. Gannon, that was your 7th victory this season. And you said the winning doesn't ever get old to you. How are you feeling right now this week here at Maple Hill?
Good. I think Maple Hill is a bit of a different course than other ones on tour. I think this one is tough to, you could be having a good season, your game could be feeling good, but it's tough to consistently score out here. I think a lot of that is just some of the lines. There's a lot of roots and rocks in the ground. A lot of tough holes. This is probably one of the harder courses on tour. I mean, 22 under one last year with 4 rounds, I believe. So this course is extremely hard to just get going and get scoring on. I know tomorrow's forecast doesn't look good at all, so I'm thinking just anything under par tomorrow is going to be a good score.
Really? You think anything under par?
I mean, I would take like a 4 under. I'd be fine with a 4 under, I think, tomorrow. I mean, the problem is there's just like, especially that 5 or the 6, 7, 8, 9 stretch going into 10 as well as one of the furthest playing par 3s on tour up the hill on the Castle hole. That kind of 5-hole stretch is like birdies are very hard to come across, and you can also bogey every single hole in that stretch. And so they actually made 6 a lot easier this year, cutting some of the trees. That was a great change. Definitely something the course needed to make it less of a fluky hole. So I'd like to see improvements like that on this course. I think it just makes me like it even more to finally kind of take away a couple of the things that I didn't like about it. So that's good to see. But yeah, I mean, tomorrow, if it does rain the entire day, I wouldn't be surprised if a 6 or 7 under was the hot round. It could be even lower.
When it rains like this, like it's projected tomorrow, and it's going to be cold, what is your rain setup? Are you superstitious about how you prepare for the rain? Do you pack 50 towels? What do you do?
I don't go a crazy amount of towels, but obviously an umbrella, having a caddy is huge. I got Ben Kenny on the bag this week, same as last week, so that's kind of nice to have for this part of tour. But yeah, just probably 4 or 5, medium-sized towels. And the most important part is just keeping the hand dry. Having a chalk bag helps a ton. Even if there's a little bit of moisture, you can kind of just chalk it up, and there's not too big of a problem there. For me, I think the hardest part is forehands and putting in the rain. The backhand stays pretty similar, but forehand, I tend to, the grip can get too sticky. If you dry it off, you get that super sticky feeling, and you chalk and it gets too dry, and so it's tough to find the mix. But putting is the hardest part for me when it's raining because of the grip. I'm definitely not going to use a wet putter when I play. I'd rather have at least I'd rather have more grip than no grip. Yeah, when you putt, you just wet it all, you dry it off, your hand is like glued to the disc, and so that's the toughest part for me, especially with my putting style. So that's something that I've always kind of struggled with. It's tough to just get in a rhythm. You just randomly grip lock a putt or something like that. So I think I'll probably be playing a little bit safer tomorrow if it does rain. Not running the putts I probably would, and everything will probably have a softer bit on it, unless it's just like ripping wind. I might just jam it.
You've talked to me the past couple of seasons about tweaking your backhand form, making little changes to optimize certain things, going to the net and just grinding something over and over again. Does that happen with your putt, or at this point does it just kind of feel like you're playing beanbag toss?
My putt definitely, putting's weird. Like I've had a couple different putting styles this season already. Beginning of the year, I only putted with one hand. I didn't put my left hand on the disc. Recently, I have been putting my left hand on the disc. I know at Worlds I did both for a couple rounds. Couple rounds I did one hand, couple rounds I did both hands, and so it's it varies just depending on how I'm feeling. Putting is like it's tough. Just like with the rest of the game, it's not guaranteed it's going to feel good that week, and so if my putting's off, I will, I don't really need to take a video of it. Unlike with backhand or forehand, I can see what's going on in a video, but with putting it's more of a feel thing, and I will make some micro adjustments. Just it's tough to explain, but I know what I'm doing to be able to change it, and then hopefully for the better. Yeah, putting sometimes it's like maybe you just didn't sleep good and your focus is off, and then you can't really envision that line that you're trying to get the putter to go on, and so that's definitely what gets difficult with putting.
Let's zoom into the course changes. 1, 7, 9. Brand new triple Vandal on hole 1. Got Got the par 3 placement now. Hole 7's a brand new fairway. 9 got a brand new fairway. Talk about those changes and how you're feeling about them.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of hole 1 when I first saw it was going to happen. But then I saw they move the basket about 20 feet closer to the gap, and so it makes the hole just so much better. Just that little change. Instead of having a difficult, 45-footer, you don't have to go as aggressive through that triple Mando, and so I think it's a great change. I think it looks amazing. That hole's going to be playing pretty fun. I love the par 3 placement on hole 1. I think there's nothing better for the fans to watch than just a cool, almost 500-foot par 3 to start off the day with danger everywhere. So that's going to be fun. Hopefully we can see an ace on camera. That'd be awesome. It's a great hole to do it on. 7. Like I said, cutting the trees on 6 was cool. That's a good change. 7, I don't know, I think it's a similar, as good of hole as old hole 7, but old hole 7 I thought was also pretty iconic for the course, right down the path. But I think they had to move that for spectator reasons, most likely. They got to find a way to funnel the spectators through the course without making a big problem there. So it makes sense to me, and I think it's a fine hole. I think the forehand can play to about 30 feet to the right of the basket, and you can park it with a backhand if you really want to. But that hole's going to have some good separation, because if you miss that gap, you'll probably take in a bigger number. The par 5 on 9 looks amazing. I think it's a much better hole than the par 4 on 9. For 9, the par 4, the hole doesn't really shape as a great disc golf hole, because you do 85% of the work on the tee shot, and then there's just, the ground's very uneven. It's just, the shape of the hole is kind of weird. But when you add it as a par 5, you don't have to go as crazy aggressive off the tee to get into the landing zone for your second, to then pitch up for 3 to try to get your birdie 4. And I think that hole's going to be playing maybe around par. I mean, still difficult, but definitely you can birdie if you just stay in the fairway the whole time. And I guess they put the little bit of a wall on hole 14. That looks nice. I don't love how it's uneven. I think we're going to see some players definitely hit the top of the wall, where some will throw a worse shot, or not necessarily a worse shot, but just in a similar area, but they'll get over the wall. But I think it looks nice. It definitely makes me more aggressive when I'm putting, so I can run the putt. If I miss it, if it rolls, it's still going to be in bounds. That's nice to see. And then 18, shorten the layup zone a little bit, so you at some point have to go across for the green. I like that. I think for me, I have laid up in the past, try to play for par in hole 18, but I might just go into hole 18 with the attitude of birdie or bogey. I don't care. If you can make it the 60-foot par putt, you get a par. But yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna try to put myself in position to go for that green every day, hopefully. Yeah, those par approaches will be scary if that's what you're trying to play for. But like I said, the course is probably playing harder than it's ever been, and I think that's exciting, especially coming from last week where it was a little bit of easier disc golf. We're going to see just some exciting disc golf this week. Bad tree kicks, people are going to be throwing OB, and I think we have good weather for the last 3 days, so that would be exciting. But love it here at Maple Hill.
One last question I have for you. Last week, there was a lot of positive talk in the commentary booth. People, the Nate and Terry kind of comparing you to guys that have had some of the best seasons of all time in the MPO division, which has got to feel like an honor to be placed alongside Ken Climo, Paul McBeth, big seasons like that. And as you're playing as well as you are, it seems like there's always this online discourse that says, oh, well, Gannon's playing too good now. It feels like you can't win. Were you prepared for this type of talk when you were first getting into pro disc golf?
I mean, I don't know. I definitely didn't think it would be this quick. It's weird. I feel like I've been on tour a long time, but also I'm still under 20, so it hasn't been that long. But I've seen a lot of stuff. I've made mistakes I can improve on. I think I'm obviously there's still room to improve mentally in terms of like game planning and decision making and what shots to throw, but I think I'm almost about where I need to be. I mean, obviously I'll probably figure that out later, but I feel like right now I know pretty much all I need to know to win tournaments and play consistent. But yeah, it's just been kind of weird, some of the comments online, and I've seen it all pretty much. So it's interesting to see people's opinions on, my play or, how it affects the sport, stuff like that. But I'm just so happy to be where I'm at right now.
Does it affect you? Do you feel like you're pretty well suited to ignore them?
I don't care. It's annoying a little bit because I feel like I've done nothing wrong, and a lot of people don't like me for that. But they can't really pick something out. They say, oh, it's a blowout. There's no point even watching. Where Ricky was only 3 strokes back. He had made up 4 strokes in the front 9, and it was scary. Obviously, the score says I won by 7. He ran that putt on 18. He didn't need to. I would have won by 5. But in these days in the Pro Tour, if you're up 3 with 11 holes to play, it's not even close to over. And I had to play really good to seal out that win, including that ace run that hit the cage and rolled OB. And so, I don't know. I guess if people don't like to see that type of disc golf, then I don't know. I guess it's their fault. But I'm going to keep doing the same thing I'm doing, and I probably won't change anything.
Well, Gannon, you got a long time to continue winning tournaments. We'll see you out there. Good luck this week.
Thanks.
We'll be right back in just a few. All right, welcome back. Joining us now, Kristin Tattar. Kristin, you took down the GMC last week. How are you feeling right now at MVP, making the trip down from Vermont?
It's always great to be back here. It's a fun course out here. The trip was quite short, and I love the area here. We had some chance to explore Boston, and yeah, it's nice to be here.
We talked a little bit after your win. You kind of looked at me after you tapped in with almost a look of shock. Can you just reflect on that final round one more time, walking down Fox Run, and why you felt so shocked winning that tournament?
Yeah, it's just because of some of the inner battles I had on the course, and just remembering the feelings I had in the beginning of the round when I was like missing some of my putts and feeling a little bit frustrated that I couldn't keep up with the girls, and sort of like accepting what is, and then going through it and actually continuing to do what I can in that moment, whatever my best is at that moment. And then to come out as a winner, which seemed impossible to me. But I was constantly reminding myself that anything is possible. It's all like stuck in my head. And if I can't imagine the impossible, then it's not going to happen. So I tried to like keep the doors open for myself and then sort of prove that it's actually possible. So it was kind of crazy for me.
I hear players when they win tournaments say, "Oh, that was a great battle with so-and-so." You hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Do they feel like battles to you with another person?
I don't know. I feel like mostly on the course it's a battle with yourself and your ability to give your maximum effort and focus in that moment. So it's not necessarily a battle with the other competitors, but I feel like it's more for the audience because they are seeing like the battle between the players, and this is what makes sports exciting. But yeah, as an athlete, I just like try to focus on myself, and because this is all I can do, I can't really control the other factors out there.
And when you're coming down the stretch with another player, and last week it was with Silva, are you ever paying attention to their score or decisions that they make? And does that ever affect a decision that you make on the course?
I guess sometimes it could. Like, it depends so much on the circumstances and the whole and the situation. But during GMC, I didn't really change anything.
Mm-hmm.
I knew my game plan. I trusted my game plan. And like I said, the rest was out of my hands. I did know walking down hole 18 that I had the chance to maybe tie if she bogeys and I birdie. So I knew that there was a lot of weight on my approach. So I really wanted to put it close, and I was really proud of myself to do it under pressure, to put it into the bullseye, to not actually having to putt. So yeah, it was a very proud moment for me.
Well, let's zoom into this week. Maple Hill, highly regarded by a lot of people out here. You haven't quite taken one of these down yet. How are you feeling about your chances this week to do that?
Yeah, I've been so close many times. Ended up in second place for, I think, 3 times. And I feel like I've been doing well on this course, just not having the win here. I don't know if it's the most important, but I think this week I just tried to continue like the mindset I had in the final round toward the end, just giving my best in this moment and not knowing what my best is in this moment, but still trying and challenging myself. But yeah, it would be very nice to take another win, but the field is very packed. There are so many talented ladies out here, and I feel like this is one of the courses where if you're having a bad day, you could double bogey like every hole, because there's so many trees, so many OBs, and when you're having a good day, you could be shooting very hot here. So there's 4 rounds, anything can happen, and I'm just excited to see how it unrolls.
Well, it seems like every single year they're making changes to this place to try to grow it bigger and bigger and bigger and better. And now they've changed some holes. Hole 9, you have a big placement across the water, par 5. How do you feel about the change, and how do you feel about your strategy on that one?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I feel like there's like not a good layup zone to go over the water. It's very tricky footing, so it really comes up to where your lie is and how this this hole plays. I feel like it could be even eagleable, but it depends on so many factors. It's interesting, but it takes some pressure off, I guess. The par 5 on a par 4, you just have to have like an amazing first shot, but with the par 5, there's some room to play with. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
This point in the season, what shots in your bag of tricks, so to speak, feels the most automatic to you? What do you feel like you could put a blindfold on and execute?
You know, this season I feel like there haven't been a shot where I feel like so comfortable that it's easy for me. There have been those shots in past years, but I guess this is what has made this season uncomfortable for me at one point, because I haven't been like trusting my shots as much, and it's been a weird challenge, I guess, but I'm learning to trust my shots again. It used to be like the short forehand shots, but I feel like I've been most inconsistent with them, not putting them close to the basket. But now I'm just trying to remind myself that I have all the skills. Don't doubt yourself, just execute. And it has helped.
Well, Kristin, thank you so much for your honesty and for your time. We'll see you out there this week. Good luck.
Thank you.
We'll be right back in just a few. All right, welcome back and welcoming in Luke Humphries. Luke, you've been on tour a little while, pretty much same time that I have. How's this year going for you? We talked to you, I remember at Waco, it was a pretty heavy week for you for a lot of reasons. How are you now?
I'm great. Love being in the Northeast. Maple Hill is a gorgeous place to be. The playoffs are a different feel, so I'm doing well. I definitely feel the stress, though.
Talk about everything that you do in disc golf. You don't just get to show up and play your practice rounds and be done and then go to sleep. You wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Talk about all the hats and how they're all fitting, figuratively speaking.
Yeah, they're tight right now. Everything's fitting a little tight at the end of the season, Brian. I think at the beginning, I've got the passion to play the golf and to do all those extracurriculars, be it skins, commentary, setting up our other shows or whatever it may be. But it does seem like at the end of the season, it's more important to focus on the play. So when I'm not playing and I'm doing those skins matches like I'm about to do right after this, feels like I might be wasting a little bit of my practice time and possibly getting behind in my practice and my preparation.
Well, Luke, it seems like you kind of have these waves where you say, all right, time to focus on disc golf again, and then you pop off some great performances.
Yeah.
Is that hard to juggle? I know on the outside it probably seems like it is.
Yeah.
How difficult is it truly?
Dude, it's really hard. You know. I mean, more than
That's
anybody
why I'm not playing
else
anymore.
possible.
Yeah, I understand.
Brian Earhart, Nate Perkins, you guys are both like extremely acutely aware of how hard it is. I think we make it more complicated than it is, though, at times. You know, getting a birdie can be simple. You don't have to have all that stuff in your mind. You don't have to think about money, points, whatever it may be, but it's really easy to do that, and it sneaks in, creeps in, and it becomes the focus instead of just like really picking a link or picking a tree branch or something. Like, you just make it extremely simple and stop complicating things. When I do play good, I think that's where I start.
Well, before we dive more into your game and how you're feeling about this course this week, you guys have been having some really big turnouts at your skins matches.
Yeah.
And it feels like whenever it's a skins match or an exhibition match, the grassroots feeling of disc golf kind of comes out. How have those been? I think Failure Lake was the one that had a huge turnout.
Yeah.
How is that going when you're actually in the moment?
Man, it's incredible. 410 tickets sold at that Failure Lake one. It felt like 1,000 people in the small course, small woods holes. It's just insane to see people come out and be so excited. I think that in tournaments and around the DGPT, people are very reverent. They're very respectful. They know how much is on the line. But when it comes to a skins match, they can be a little more laid back. They can put themselves in the position to see the shot that they might not feel comfortable doing in a tournament session. So it's like you said, grassroots. It's fun. You see people smiling, laughing so much. We always have a great turnout. And I'm honored to be a part of that.
Well, Luke, let's zoom in. I had to let you talk about the skins because again, 400 people for something you guys built is incredible. I'm sure you feel that as well.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
We're here at Maple Hill, arguably one of the best courses in the world.
Yeah.
It's tough, and Gannon even said tomorrow with the rain coming down, he's happy with anything under par. Yeah. Do you feel something similar about this track?
Yeah, I do. Last year I had a knee injury while I was playing. I threw completely standstill last year. So I'm looking forward to attacking this course with my full abilities. It's a longer course. There are holes that are perfect. They're like distance competition holes. I mean, hole 10 obviously comes to mind, but there's some other ones out there as well. So I've got to take my pars when they come, get my birdies when they're available, because there is 200-foot holes as well and wide open forehand shots. And I should be able to attack, like Gannon said. I think under par in the rain is great, but you know, you got to look to go 8 if you're looking for a win or a top 10, which I kind of need at this point. I'm here for a reason. You know, I'm sitting on that bubble line, so a good finish here goes a long way.
Talk about the changes to this course. They got the gate up on 1 now. Some players say they really like it. Some players say they don't like it. You got 7 with a brand new fairway, 9 with a brand new fairway.
Yeah.
Can you talk about those?
Yeah, for sure. 1 I love. I think that's a perfect thing. You can't cheat the sides. I watched people get lucky through those sides every time. And you can't do that anymore, which I love. It should be a pure shot to enter into that green. It's a fantastic hole. Most guys getting way down there. 7, I think, is great. Our old fairway used to have a tree in the middle of it. 400 feet down the fairway, you'd have to either get lucky, miss it left or right. You couldn't just pure that gap. So this one feels like a good shot's going to be rewarded. And then hole 9, wow. That's a crazy hole. Last year it felt like a little much. I know like Aaron Gossage was getting birdies and stuff on it. Well, he's incredibly good at disc golf and has tools that I don't really have. I feel like 9 sets up a little better for me this year. The ability to throw a bit shorter off the tee, chip it up to a good spot, and then attack that position up the hill, I think is a birdie that I wasn't counting last year, might have this year.
Ricky Wysocki in a practice round said that the par 5 felt like a par 6 and that the par 4 felt like a par 4.5. Do you feel like it's a par 6, or was he joking? Do you think it's going to score closer to 5?
Are you talking about 9?
Yes.
I don't think it's a par 6 necessarily. I really worked at throwing a forehand that turned the whole way from where the landing zone is, even short of where most people are landing, just getting around and over and not letting it flex out. So I sat there and worked that forehand to get myself into the perfect layup zone. And I feel like that third shot's not too complicated if you're in the right spot. Now, if you're up on the hill or you're a little bit right, you've got to flex something. You bring the center trees into play. And if you hit those center trees, you're definitely coming back out of bounds.
Well, it's funny. You're mentioning some of these big arms like Gossage. These are guys throwing 75, 80 miles an hour. And as much as I see you bomb the disc, you're definitely a finesse player. You shape some pretty cool lines. How does a player with your play style stretch the distance out? What lines do you like? What stabilities do you like?
Well, if it's windy, it's going to be really hard. I'm going to have to throw those stable discs that I don't get as much glide out of. So if the conditions are good, I'll go a little less stable. I'll make sure and get that glide, work that disc left to right a little bit. That's how I compensate for not having the MPHs that some other guys have. But there's enough birdies out here. You know, it's not a full-on distance competition, although there are holes that are like straight-up distance competition holes. So I'm gonna work to get the birdies and just par those holes.
One last real question for you. I mean, you've performed well on a lot of different styles of courses. You've performed well. I think Waco's a perfect example. You performed well on the Beast, and then you've performed well on the golf course that they use there as well. Yeah. For professional disc golf, in the future, if we just remove all the infrastructural challenges at this point, what style of courses do you think we should be moving towards or designing for professional disc golf?
Courses like Brewster Ridge. I even think courses like Fox Run. I think where we just got done playing, even though my results say different, are some of the best courses in the world. And I think we continue to make wooded tracks that have ability to have patrons there. I think Eagles Crossing did a good job of kind of thinking about the people who are going to be watching while the golf is going on, and because the woods, it's just so beautiful, man. To watch the flight down the, I know we agree on this, the flight down the hallway of trees, it's too good, man. It's gorgeous. That's what we should be doing.
Luke, my friend, good luck tomorrow, or with the whole weekend, really, and we'll see you out there.
Appreciate you, Brian.
We'll be right back in just a few. Welcome back. Joining us now, Stacie Kiefer. Stacie, MVP player. We're here at the MVP Open. We just got to open it up. What is it like being an MVP player at this tournament?
I love it. I love this tournament. I like being in the woods and just the atmosphere of seeing all like MVP workers and everyone who like works behind the scenes and everything. It's awesome.
I remember watching you back at the Open at Tallahassee and being so impressed. That was one of the first times that I had seen you throw for an entire tournament. Since that incredible performance in Tallahassee, how has life been, and how different of a player are you compared to back then?
Back then, pretty different. That year after winning, I played really bad. The whole year, I barely cashed. Even last year wasn't great. This year has been much better. I've been much more consistent. Nothing feels like it's changed other than just consistency.
Talk about that season that, you said you didn't play as great after the big win. Did you feel extra expectations after the win? Did you feel like you held yourself to a high standard, or why didn't you perform to your expectations?
I'm not sure. That tournament was just a breakout tournament. I wasn't expecting to win any tournament that year, especially like first year on tour. I knew a lot more people knew my name and was probably watching me play, and I guess that held me to a little higher expectations.
Mm-hmm. Talk about this tournament here at the MVP Open. Talk about Maple Hill. How are you feeling this week about your game, just in general, scoring-wise out here?
I'm not feeling good with my game right now. Last weekend at Green Mountain was my worst tournament of the year, so my game's feeling really bad. Mental game's not feeling great, but I do love being out in the woods, and I love the atmosphere here, so hoping I can put something together.
Talk about the things that you want to improve on. Where are the strokes being bled this year? And maybe what things do feel solid for you out here? Clearly, you're still in the mix every weekend.
Putting. I need to work on putting. Putting's usually like one of my strongest suits. Last week it was really bad, and discs just feel weird in my hand right now, so working on angle controls for sure, especially out in the woods.
How do you do that? Do you do it during practice rounds? Are you the kind of player that goes out to the field and reps over and over again? What does that look like for you?
I do it a lot in practice rounds. I'll ask my husband Kevin, and he usually helps me right away, and it's very easy to learn from him.
How often is he sharing intel with you about disc golf, and how often are you kind of slapping him on the wrist and telling him to make better decisions?
The only time I usually tell him not to help me is in the tournament, when I'm in the zone and I feel confident with the shot. Other than that, I ask him all the time, and he helps a lot.
I got another question. We have some changes made out here at this course. Hole 9, par 5 placement. How do you like that compared to the other par 4 placement across the water?
It's all right. I think it'll be good. I think it's very fair. The shot across the water is a little sketchy, just with the trees there. If you hit one, you're going OB, but I think it'll be fun.
Talk about tour life in general this year. You've been on the road pretty much every weekend. Have you gotten to go home at all? Have you gotten to relax? It's been a very long year.
Yeah, the beginning and middle of the season, I got to go home a lot because my family lives in Missouri now, so it's very central. It's been good, and this year we've toured in our camper, so that's helped a huge to have a home base. It's been really fun. It's getting to the point now where I'm getting a little burnt out just from the long season, but.
And are you going back home to Missouri after the season's over? Where is the off season going to take you?
We'll probably go in Florida with Kevin's parents for most of the off season.
Stacie, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you out there this week.
Thank you.
We'll be right back in just a few. And welcome back, and welcoming back the first DGPT champion here at Maple Hill, Bradley Williams. Brad, we're back at Maple Hill. How you feeling right now?
Good, hungry, excited to play for sure. Yeah, a bit chilly.
Talk about life in general. Talk about this season. How's it gone for you? How's your game been overall?
The game's been up and down. I tried some new things in the beginning of the season, didn't really work out. Trying to climb back into something more consistent right now. The game's really competitive. The field's tight. You get punished if you make any mistakes these days. You have to be consistent every round. So it takes a mental toll on you. You kind of feel discouraged sometimes. I took a break and played a random A tier. Played with zero care. Just threw frisbees, and it kind of gave you a confidence boost. Just finishing a bit higher with the same. Like if you shoot 10-30 golf, you're going to get like 30th place. You shoot 10-30 golf in an A tier, you get third. So it was like a shift in money and a shift in podium. So I think sometimes, you need to step away from the game and go recharge because the tour is very tough.
When you're trying to make these tweaks to your throw to change something or get better at something, what are you trying to accomplish, like with these tweaks to your throw?
Well, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I'll throw a little further. Everyone thinks you need to throw a bit further. That's the main thing. But now I'm just trying to be accurate. So, obviously distances, you always want to throw further. The courses are getting so long. We're on golf courses every other tournament, and you're having to throw 475 to 500 pretty often, actually. Driver most of the time. So you're always looking for more distance.
What does 475, 500 look like to you these days? What shape are you throwing? What stability? What disc are you throwing?
It's kind of chaos. It's like maximum effort. Like I might spit, and like grit my teeth and chip a tooth. That's what it feels like now. It doesn't feel like a golf shot. It feels like I don't know where it's going to go.
Well, with that, let's talk about some of the changes here on this course. We start out throwing that 475 par 3 on hole 1. 7's new. 9's got a new fairway. Talk about the changes.
Okay, it changes, sure. Hole 1, still always exciting. I think no matter what they do with that, just teeing over a pond on your first hole in front of a bunch of people, that will always be a very exciting hole. So that's no matter what they do, it's a fun thing to do. 7 and 9 are both very hard. They both favor like a steep hyzer flip to Annie shot, which actually requires quite a bit of power. I think 9's almost unbirdieable in the short location for a huge number of the field. The only birdies I saw were people who threw so hard that went left and then just got lucky with a gap. In the par 5 configuration, I think we're going to see more birdies, hopefully. People who are shorter are going to be able to throw that forehand flex shot around the corner, hopefully get a good footing, and then play the approach shot. 7's hit or miss. You could see people hit early and take maybe a bogey, but it's going to be a hard birdie, but it's definitely doable.
I want to talk about the triple Mando that they've put up on hole number 1. They've nicknamed it Chipmunk Gate.
Sure, yeah.
And for the people that don't know, that are newer to disc golf, that had something to do with your victory at Maple Hill. Can you tell that story from your perspective?
Yeah, Michael Johansson was in a very good spot, and we were on like our 3rd playoff hole of the Vibram Open at the time, first Disc Golf Pro Tour event, and I was more up on the right, and my shot was a very risky, crazy shot. So I was looking, hopefully I could just lay up and see what happens, and we let Michael Joe go first, and he threw a shot that looked good, and then there was like a reaction, and it turns out he threw it offline, which would have probably been a par, but it bounced over a wall, and there was a little chipmunk scurrying around right where his disc hit. So we called it the Chipmunk Gate. So it's been the Chipmunk Gate victory ever since, basically.
Are you honored or tickled that they named the Triple Mando after your chaotic playoff?
Ever since I started playing pro, like on the national tour, I just wanted to find bits of ways for my name to get remembered longer. So Chipmunk Gate, give me put me on a rock as I won an A tier somewhere, fine. I'm the Piney Woods Open champion, I'm the Chipmunk Gate champion, like whatever. As long as I make a mark on the sport, I'm pretty pumped.
I asked Matt Orum a similar question when he came here earlier. You've spanned multiple generations of players. You've played with
I play with Climo, I play with Barry Schultz, I play with Dave Fehlberg. Like I've played with the oldest ones.
Talk about how different you as a player and a human being are from when you first started traveling big time for disc golf to where you are now in life.
Back in the day, a younger player playing with the older guys, you always just were like wanted to beat them, and like you were just trying to get them any chance you could. And now that as an older player, I just want to kind of be friendly with everyone, throw good shots, like have a good time, feel good about the event. I'm not so hungry in that kind of like I don't know, just like a young
Chip on your shoulder kind of
chip on a
thing.
shoulder, exactly. Yeah, I'm not sleeping on the floor, on every other tournament, just looking for a spot to play. It's a little different, a little bit more of a job or like a career type thing.
Well, then let's talk about this tournament specifically.
Sure.
What is it going to take from you to win this tournament?
Probably not going to win this tournament, just to be fair. I think my goal right now is to see if I can get into the Tour Championship. I need to get 14th place to get the points to have a chance, and I need to average 4 down, 3 to 4 down per round, and that's my whole focus. I'm not, if I try to shoot a 9 down, it could get me into trouble, or I could get frustrated that that's not happening. And there's a lot of pars out on this course now, especially for an older guy. There's a lot of holes where I just can't. I'm not going to get a birdie. That's just how it goes. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to try to minimize my expectations and try to aim for a lower goal this week, and see if I can try to make it into the Tour Championship.
Well, Brad, that's all I have for you, man. Get back to your lunch. You came over here to do the presser. Good luck this week. We'll see you out there.
All right.
We'll be right back in just a few. All right, welcome back and welcoming in Hannah Huynh. Hannah, you made it to Maple Hill. How you feeling coming back to Massachusetts?
Feels good. I'm always excited to come around here. It's very pretty and the course is awesome.
Talk about the season in general for you. 2024, right now, you're at an all-time ratings high at 944. How is that feeling?
Feels good. It feels good that I'm on kind of a steady incline and just getting a little bit better each month. So that helps. It makes me feel better.
Talk about tour life in general. How has the van life been, the tour life? It's a long year.
Yeah. I really love van life. I adapt very easily to stuff like this. So competing every weekend, it's very natural. It's been really good, and yeah, we are feeling a little tired now. We have a couple tournaments left, and everyone's kind of feeling a little worn out.
Well, again, like I said, last year in September 2023, you matched your all-time high rating, and you just did it this month as well. Talk about how everything is feeling right now. You've had some moments of brilliance this year. You won the Mid-America Open. You've had some great top 5 performances as well. How are you actually feeling as a player?
I'm feeling really good. Switching to discraft, I found some really good discs that match my arm speed, so I'm throwing a little further. I'm throwing a little different now with the disc, though, so that's been a really fun change. But I'm feeling good. I feel like my putting's going a lot better, and accuracy's going better.
I'm going to ask one more question about the rating. With you being at an all-time high, do you have ratings goals anymore at this point in your career?
I mean, sometimes I think, yeah, it'd be really cool if I could be 950 to be, up there with the top, girls, just for the name-wise and stuff. But I don't think it really matters.
Talk about Maple Hill. Talk about the course and your strategy and scoring out here.
Maple Hill is awesome, as everyone knows. So some of the changes, yes, like hole 18, it's a lot harder for FPO now. They moved the tee back and the OB in further. So I think playing for par on the hole is what I'm going to be doing. So just playing smart out here. I don't know what the weather's going to do. So just hoping for good weather and just stay clean.
Looks like we're going to have 3 days of good weather, and then tomorrow it looks like there might be rain in the forecast. I guess that leads me into a good question. Are you superstitious about playing in the rain? What is your preparation like going into a round when you see the forecast?
No superstition with the weather. I love rain. I love playing in the rain because I'm from Washington. I don't know, it's just something about it. But yeah, no, I don't care what the weather's like. I think I can conquer it.
Growing up in Washington and Spokane, were you the type of player to go play a practice round or a fun round because it was raining? I've heard players from that area sometimes do that.
I mean, if my friends were like, let's go play, I will say yes. Even in the snow, we went and played in 4 feet of snow. I don't know.
Talk about the scoring in regards to winning this tournament, or what do you feel like you're going to have to do to take this tournament down and become the champion here at Maple Hill?
I'm going to need a miracle. I just know I haven't gotten close, before, so I don't expect myself to get close this tournament, but a top 10 finish is something that I'm working for.
What do you feel like scoring-wise? Do you think about numbers getting you into the top 10? Do you know what scores you're kind of aiming for?
Nope. I just want to play clean golf and not get as many bogeys and just see where that goes.
Well, Hannah, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you out there. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
We'll be right back in just a few. Welcome back. Joining us now, last but not least, the Director of Operations for the Disc Golf Pro Tour, Brian Cole. Brian, you're here in Massachusetts, my friend. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. It's been a couple years since I've been on site for this event, but it's got a fond place in my heart. This is an event that I've competed in way back, so I'm happy to be back with Steve and his family and staff here.
Talk about your feelings about this place from a player's point of view. When you first came here, what was your experience?
Oh, it's special. It's a clear example of the sum being greater than its parts, I think. It's a wonderful course that keeps getting better year on year. I've heard a lot of the players and Steve talk about all the changes that have happened this year. But I think what really makes it special is having Steve and his family here on site. We're here at his home, and he's sharing it with everyone, and you can just see his face light up when he gets the opportunity to share all of this with everyone here and everyone watching.
Since you've competed here last, talk about the changes that have been made to this property, and really you could call it a facility at this point. There's so much going on here.
Sure. Yeah, I would say, I think most of the folks have seen the evolution of the course out there through the years, through just iterations of small tweaks here and there. And I heard Steve mention Calvin kind of turning the dials in his head about using vastly different pin positions out there. So there's that evolution of the course for the competition side. But what I've really seen and what is really noticeable in my mind, since it's been a couple of years since I've been here, is how much infrastructure and attention has been paid to the spectating experience. Steve is really kind of at the cutting edge of wooded course spectating. You know, we see a lot of more open courses that emphasize that follow card experience, which is wonderful. You get the huge gallery, people running from hole to hole. The Beast in Finland comes to mind, where everyone's kind of moving along with the crowd or with the players. And here, Steve was really emphasizing, come sit down, make yourself at home here on hole 8 or on hole 14 or on hole 18 or on hole 1. So he's really kind of built up all of these areas that make a special experience to be a spectator, and something that event teams can look to if they have a similar course.
Talk to me about hole 8 and the fans known as the 8 holes that have just been growing in size year after year since it started.
Sure.
You kind of get mixed reviews from players whenever you have something like that. You have some players that say, I want to get an ace for them so bad. You have some players that say, well, I heard them cheering while I was putting on a different hole, and it messed me up. What are your thoughts on that type of fanatical fan experience? And is there any sort of regulation that you need to put in place to make sure they don't go too far?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we don't have any regulations or rules per se, but yeah, there's definitely a line there between what's appropriate cheering and what is not helpful for the players. Mm-hmm. The cheering is meant to be helpful for the players, to make them feel great, to make them want to throw that great shot. So, you know, there's a line there that if you're disturbing play on other holes, or the players are, you know, feeling like it's not helpful for them, that, yeah. But I think the 8 holes do it well. They've always been enthusiastic, and sure, there's been some rowdy moments, and they've got a great captain out there, and he takes feedback from us every year to make sure that they're cheering when they should be cheering.
Curious for your opinion on this. In the traditional golf world, we have Live Golf and we have the PGA Tour, and yes, they've merged a little bit, but you know, Live kind of has that fanatical, rowdy experience that they're trying to push on people, and then the other side, golf most of the time is a lot more tame. In regards to disc golf, what do you feel like is that happy medium, so to speak, from a operation standpoint?
Yeah, that's a good question. It seems like to me, in my experience, it does kind of vary by community a little bit. And here the fans are very vocal for sure, and they're experienced. They feel comfortable. They all kind of, it seems like everyone knows each other, right? That's from the top down, Steve making it feel like a family affair. So yeah, I think for disc golf in general, we don't need to be maybe as dead quiet as golf. And I think it's great for players to hear the cheering for their shots. But yeah, there's also those moments, championship moments, where a player really needs to focus on that last putt, where we do want it to be pretty quiet. So I think there's a great juxtaposition between like loud cheering and then like dead silence in that moment, where we can all kind of watch a player focus.
Well, here on this property, there's a lot of things going on operationally, as you obviously know. You're here. What are the challenges of putting this event on, and maybe your duties in that?
Yeah, I think maybe similar to spectating on a wooded course, it's not a huge property. So Steve and his staff are really efficient in the use of what they've got here. We're here in the barn above Steve's parents' house. And then he's got his game room for the players and spectators, and the deck has expanded for more accommodations there. But that all requires some very careful planning. And then in the moment, that requires some flexibility when things don't go as planned. I saw some, that new deck expansion was a little bit troublesome for some large vehicles getting by. Everyone got by. But those are the types of things that you try to plan for, and then it doesn't always go that way when it comes down to it. So, yeah.
I got one last question for you, Brian. What are you looking forward to the show starting tomorrow? What are you looking forward to most?
I think I'm looking forward to the new pin position on hole 1. A little bit. I love the variance there, and I'm looking forward to watching some of the cut line golf for the Tour Championship. We have the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship coming up in a couple weeks, right after the USDGC, and there's some interesting battles going on for those last spots for both MPO and FPO, and it's our last year at Nevin until we move over to the new venue for the Tour Championship in 2025. So I'm kind of excited to see who are the last people to make it into the Tour Championship and getting a chance to play at Nevin before a little bit of a venue change there.
Brian, thank you so much for your time. We'll see you out there tomorrow.
Thanks, Brian.
And with that, we're wrapping things up. Round 1 starts tomorrow morning. We'll see you there.